My love for memes knows no bounds. And in this exercise, what I want to do is take this little bit of meme application code that we generated in this previous exercise and make it into a website. That way I can share it with everyone I know, because I could eventually easily deploy it into production with Habitat. Right? So we'll make this simple website allows anyone to specify their particular image and place them inside of a habitat container themselves. All right, so let's get started. And we're going to use the Ruby library Sinatra, which allows us to very quickly and easily create a website that allows us to create the forms we need, to do the processing of images that we need, and return that image back to them. Sinatra provides a domain-specific language, particularly around the HTTP verbs and actions that you would normally associate with a website. So let's get started with it by first installing the gem. So I'm going to open up our gem file here. I'm going to specify the gem Sinatra, and then I'm going to go to my command line and do a bundle install. There we go. So I've got Sinatra installed. Now, I don't want to mess with the meme.rb file that we created previously. I want to create a new file, and I'm going to call this file service.rb. So that's our service we're going to create. I'm going to open up our service file, and I'm going to require the Sinatra gem. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of example code just to get started. Here's what I want to just have, and I'm going to say, instead of hello world, let's say hello meme lovers, right? So this is a meme lovers pizza we're offering here. So let's start the service. Now we can run bundle, exec, Ruby, and then service.rb is going to give us our initial application that we're starting here. So I'm going to create a new tab here and go to localhost 4567. And you see here, I've got that simple message that tells us hello meme lovers, right? That's the right place to start. We've got an initial thing. We've got the Sinatra gem installed. We've got our initial route started. But what we want to do is provide a way for us, or in this case, any of our also meme lovers, to provide essentially a form for them to insert data. Now, for me, I've got a little bit of form code here. Oh, and I need to change this, right? Background color. I've got this little background code here. I'm going to replace this with a little bit of HTML. Now, ideally, you would replace this with a template, and that's something a little more advanced with Sinatra that you can play with. But the idea here is I have a form, which is going to set the background color to green, give us a little message, and then provide a form that allows us to specify a file. And when you submit the file, it's going to send us to a new location. I've got to stop our site, restart our site, and here we go. Now we should see meme green machine. We'll be able to choose a file. In this case, I could choose any image whatsoever, even the previous meme that I generated before, and then I click upload image. Now this is interesting. We are now taken to a new URL, which is Habitati-ize right here, right? So that's the URL we're going to. And you can see what's really nice is Sinatra is going to tell us, hey, this doesn't exactly work. Like, you haven't built this yet. So please do that. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to copy this code right here. We're going to bring it into our code, and we're going to add this new action and this new path, Habitati-ize. We could leave it as hello world for right now, but eventually what's going to go here is the to-do, which is create the meme based on the image that we want. All right, so that's what we're going to have here. Let's actually add that code. So there's many ways in which we could insert the code here. I'm just going to very easily just copy this code here, place this inside of there, and then I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup, which is let's move the ImageMagick require to the top, just so I know all the requires for my project. I'm going to leave my put statement here. You know, I've got the subject here hard-coded, and that's okay for right now. Eventually we want to replace it with the subject itself. And then we move through. Oh, I am writing out every single frame, so I'm going to just disable that for right now. And then I am essentially writing out the final.gif here. What I want to do then is actually return a little bit of HTML code which says where's the image, right? So here's the image. I'm going to say image source, and I'm going to create a little bit of HTML that says what the image happens to be. I'm going to say final.gif right here. Now, the thing is, this path right here is not going to actually show it, right? When we save the final.gif, it's going to save it locally. what we're going to need to do is actually set the public path directory, either this or write it to the public directory. So here we might do something like that. You know what? I don't know. Well, let's try it. We'll see what happens. So we'll say set public folder, and we'll say it's our current working directory. Let's run this and see if that works for us. And it does. Okay. So let's return back to our localhost 4567. I've refreshed the page. Let's use a file. I'm going to choose our final.gif, and I'm going to upload the image. And here we are. So it's not using the image that I provided, right? It's using the same image or the same process that we used before. It's just executing our code. But you see that it's actually returning the image that it's auto-generating every single time. Okay, so let's stop the site. And now let's update it so that it uses the file that's being provided. Now, whenever you post a file essentially through a form, that's now available inside of one of your params. In this case, it's available in the params name here. So you'll notice here's the input, and the input says here's a file, and the name of it happens to be file. So when we look at our parameters, we can say file. From there, we can get access to the file itself using temp file. So this gives us the image that the individual just uploaded to us, right? So that's kind of nice. So we have the temp file that we need that they've uploaded, but we need to replace this subject right here. We don't want the file itself. We want the name of the file or the path to the file. So let's write out the temp file path, right? So that's what we need. I'm going to place that inside of the subject here and replace it. So let's rerun our website, and I think what we're going to see is this working for us. Refresh the page, choose a file, choose my final.gif, and upload the image. All right, yo dog, I heard you like containers, so I put you in a container and then put you in another container. So here we can keep running through, choosing the final.gif that it keeps recreating and keep uploading it until we have a lot of containers inside of a container. It kind of looks like my head is on the top of a very interesting habitat cake here that I've created. All right, so that's the basic idea for our application. Now, we're almost done, almost done. The thing that we need to do finally is get this application ready to deliver to production. There's a lot of refactoring, I know. There's a lot of things we could change here. But the most important thing we want to do, at least if we want to put this into production, is to provide a rackup file. So rackup is something that I'll provide some information in the notes for. But understanding rackup is really easy and useful to use, because when we start deploying it, we want this file to provide some additional settings for us and additional configuration for us. But a very simple rackup file is something that you can read about in the Sinatra README here. They've got something set up here like, hey, you can switch your website over to a Sinatra base app. But what I found, which is really cool, is this right here, is it gives you an example of how to set up your own rackup file using this modular method, which is, this is it. Create a file, require in the service that you created, and say run Sinatra application. So I'm going to create a new file called config.ru. So touch the config.ru file. I'm going to open up that config.ru file, and instead of saying app, I'm going to say my service file and run. And now I should be able to say rackup, and this will run our application. You'll note it's a different path. Instead of 4567, it's 9292. We could easily have changed that to something else, but here we are. I'm going to choose a file, and again, I'm going to choose our final.gif because I love placing me inside of a container, inside of a container, inside of a container. And here again, I've got another container inside of a container inside of a container. And excuse me. And so we now have a meme generating website that is ready for us to place it to a Habitat container and easily deploy into production.